Hi there, and welcome to the Curious Collective podcast, conversations designed for the conscious community to bring awareness to those holistic practices that are out there that can help us to live our best life. So tap into the wisdom and knowledge of our guests to heal, transform, and live as your true soulful self. Now, I am so happy to have here with us today the beautiful Emily Shine, who I've known now for about 2 or 3 years. And it's a pleasure to see your face on my social media every day. And when I get to catch up with you face to face, such a pleasure. So please introduce yourself, what it is that you do, and what makes your heart sing in this life.
Thanks, Katie. It's really lovely to be here. I am Emily Shine. I am a kinesiologist. I also specialize in human design, and I am the developer of a modality, a hybrid modality, which combines about 20 different energy and holistic wellness modalities into one called Divine Energetics. What makes my heart sing? Lots of things make my heart sing. I think life in general makes my heart sing, even when it's difficult, because it's just such a glorious mess that sometimes, leads to such a beautiful epiphany. But particularly, I love seeing people free themselves of some kind of suffering. So that really makes my heart sing. And that, I guess, is one of the reasons why I became a therapist of some description, because I want to see that in people. I want to see them free themselves of some kind of patterning or situation that's really hard for them, and be a part of that journey. So that makes my heart sing.
Yes, I love that introduction. And I love that too, because a lot of people, they don't actually realize that they're suffering, and until they do, and then they are looking for the answers, and when there's someone there that can help to guide them to that place, that's such a beautiful gift.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, suffering is the absence of freedom, and freedom is what we're always seeking, right? We seek that in everything that we do. We go to work every day, often we also have a purpose for sure, but aside from the purpose, we all go to work every day to earn money so that we can have the freedom to live our lives. And if you're not doing something that you love doing, then you're suffering through it just in order to get freedom. So sometimes we just null that out and think that it's okay, and that, we should just live with this suffering and put up with it. And it's just not the case. We have the ability to rewire our lives so that we can have less suffering and more freedom and more flow.
Yeah, oh, I love that. And this divine energetics that you speak of, can you please tell us in your own words, what led you to the creation of this? What is it? Yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the thing that I struggled with the most is that I've studied so many different modalities over the years, and it started for me really, really young, because I came from a fairly new age holistic family. So my grandfather was a past life regression therapist, psychotherapist, and hypnotherapist
Oh,
before
that's
Google
awesome.
was around. So like this is way, way back. Like it was woo-woo for us, you know, 5 years ago, let alone you could imagine this being the
Yeah.
case 40 years ago. It was just no one did it. But it was normal for us. And then my mum is also a psychotherapist and a hypnotherapist. So when I got really sick, and I got really sick a few times in my life, especially when I was younger, my mum would take me to naturopaths as opposed to just doctors, because the doctors wouldn't give them answers, and like we can't figure out what's going on with you. And then my mum would take me to a naturopath, and she would figure out what was going on. So yeah, through my own experiences, that led me into holistic health, and I had this very multifaceted understanding of lots of different modalities, and I guess I had a real need to learn more, being a manifesting generator as well. Like I just wanted to do all of the things. And I found that a lot of the courses that I did overlapped each other. So, you do Reiki and crystal healing, for instance, and it's all exactly the same stuff, but with one particular therapeutic thing at the end that was different. And then the other thing was that, to become a kinesiologist, it would take 3 years to do that. And it's quite a big price tag. So I was coming across practitioners who were Reiki trained or kinesiologists, which are like two very extreme versions. So like one's like a couple of weekends and the other one's like years. And there was nothing really in between for people who didn't have the finances all the time to dedicate to like a 3-year diploma.
Yeah.
But they wanted more than just, the 2 weekends of being Reiki attuned. So I wanted to put all of the things together so they were easy to access. And I wanted to share all of the knowledge from over the 20 different modalities, cutting out all the overlap, and allow it to be accessible for, you know, people like mums, especially because, you know, I run it during the week, during school hours. You know, that was the other thing. It's really hard to get into courses that aren't run on weekends. And for mums, that can be difficult. The kids are at home. So that was when Divine Energetics was birthed. It actually birthed just as COVID hit, which ended up being such a blessing because people were able to do it from home because I can run it either online or in person. So it was just such a beautiful thing to step into that teaching role and arm people with these amazing tools, which is, you know, a basis of muscle testing and kinesiology functions, and, you know, a bunch of other modalities. Like, you get your Reiki attunement, you come out with your Reiki masters, you learn flower essence therapy, you learn about the chakras, you learn about crystal healing, you learn about acutonics and using sound. You know, all of these things that we go and do multiple courses over, they're all in one spot, and it's just easy, it's accessible, and the price tag's not, you know, a state where we're having to break our bank accounts to try and do all the learning. So yeah, I love it. I think it's just such a tool for everyone, and also practitioners out there.
Yeah, it sounds like, you know, you've got your toolkit of things to become a healer in your own home, and this sort of divine energetics that you've named it. I love the name, by the way. Sort of like gets your little bag, opens it up, it's good to here's a whole heap more. Play, experience, get curious, like weave them into your life where you see fit. Yeah, such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I think also with having the muscle testing as a basis, we're constantly asking the body, hey, what do you need out of these tools? As opposed to us going, oh, well, you need Reiki, or you need crystals, or you need this. I believe that this is what you need. And yes, okay, we have our intuition and we could intuitively be on the money. But isn't it beautiful to allow the body, the person's body, to be able to call all the shots and be in the driver's seat the whole time? Because essentially, we are not healers. I don't believe that we are healers healing the body. We are healers helping the body to heal itself.
Oh, yes. Say that again. That's amazing.
Yeah, healers that are helping the body to heal itself, because you know, the body can heal itself of anything, and the only reason why it's not healing itself is because there's been a mismatch of communication somewhere in the body. So that's what we're doing. We're identify where the stress is and go, okay, well, what do you need in order to move that stress? And the body goes, I need this, or I need to neutralize this. And we go, okay, cool, here's that thing. And the body goes, thank you, now I'm healing myself.
Yes, you know? So good. So for those of the listeners that don't fully know what muscle testing is, you said it in a way that it's like communicating with the body. Are you able to go into that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, sure. So when we're muscle testing, we're identifying the tonal response within the muscle fibers. So we'll usually use an arm. So we'll use the brachioradialis muscle, which is in the forearm, and we'll kind of lift the arm up, and it will give us a lock or an unlock depending on whether there's stress or there's not stress. So in that way, we can kind of bypass the conscious mind and go into the innate awareness of the body. And when we muscle test something, and if it's showing stress, well, then the body's like, that's stressful for me. So if I'm like, okay, I want to muscle test a vitamin, for instance, I think maybe you need more of this, and I put it on the body, and the body goes into a stress response, then it's like, oh, that vitamin's not good for you. You do it the same with like, okay, you're in a stress response over this emotion. Does this particular, you know, vibrational energy tool relieve that stress? Yes, I get a muscle indicator change. Cool, that's going to work. So it's just really, so cool. It's an amazing sort of like diagnostic tool for the body to identify what's going on inside and what it needs to neutralize that stress.
That absolutely fascinates me. And I guess it's about trusting what your body says too, and not trying to overthink it. Would just be like a surrender to the answer.
Yeah, that's it. Like I work alongside naturopaths a lot. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I work alongside a lot of naturopaths, because naturopaths are amazing and their knowledge is great. But the only way we can identify nutrition deficiencies outside of blood work is just based on hypothesis, right? So this is a set of symptoms that you're presenting with, and this particular vitamin is typically good at helping with that. But we don't know whether or not that's what the body needs. We have no actual idea of whether that's going to be detrimental or whether it's going to be good. Like I literally just finished a session with a naturopath just today, and she had all these vitamins with her, which were theoretically great for all of the symptoms that she was experiencing. But some of them were actually detrimental to her body because of the other stuff that was going on. And we're not going to be able to identify that unless we directly ask the body itself. And it just goes into that whole idea that everybody's constitution is so uniquely different. There's no one size fits all.
That is so important. And that's around people's healing as well. Like what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for the next. So you can't give a blanket spiritual woke approach to what this is for people. Everyone's got their own shadows, their own conditioning, their own programming. And as you would know through your kinesiology work and your divine energetics, that holds in different places of the body. So pain that's presenting physically, or, you know, that's presenting as a sickness or something like that, can just be that energetic holding, or that stuck, that blockage that you can clear if you listen to your body.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%.
So cool. So cool. So you weren't always doing what you're doing now. What sort of got you into this work? What was your journey from the start?
Yeah, I guess I pretty much did start here, which is interesting. For most people that's not the case, but because of my upbringing and because of the situations that I was kind of in, I ended up in health and wellness straight away. So my first ever job, I suppose, was in pharmacies, because I wanted to, well, actually, sorry, I digress. It was as a chiropractic assistant. And I was, you know, alongside being a chiropractic assistant, I was learning all about the innate intelligence of the body, because chiropractic really works with that. Yeah. And I had my own business as an energy healer. So I was doing intuitive card readings and Reiki and all of that kind of stuff. That was like straight out of high school.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And that was because, you know, I got my first deck of cards when I was 11. Like that's normal. Energy healing was very normal for us. And I just wanted to expand on the holistic side of things. And then I went and worked in pharmacies and really got into I became a vitamins consultant. So I really got into the natural health side of things, which I was really introduced through my experiences with healing myself through naturopaths. And also in chiropractic, we were learning about, you know, herbs and things like that. And I did that, and I ended up managing pharmacies whilst I was studying kinesiology and building my business. And I did that for about 10 years. So alongside my business. So I've only really ever done that. Yes, to a very different degrees. But yeah, I started where I currently am, and I don't think I could do anything else. Like it's just all, but then studying is also something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like I'm perpetually, I'm continuing kinesiology studying at the moment and doing my master's after, you know, like I did my kinesiology qualifications 8 years ago. I've gone back to do more. I'm going to go back to uni next year and do naturopathy. Like it is just, I want to continue to expand. But also I found kinesiology specifically through having such severe anxiety, and as a result of that, a tachycardia issue with my heart, that nothing was fixing. Like I couldn't get on top of the anxiety, and it was from long-term stress, PTSD from some childhood trauma and sexual abuse and things like that. And nothing was helping me. I was just getting worse. And I actually ended up being completely agoraphobic for a while. So I actually couldn't leave the house. And that was when I was probably about 17. I was agoraphobic, and then I finally kind of got over that, and then was treading water with it. So I wouldn't go too far out of my comfort zone, and I lived that for a really long time. And then I had some kinesiology, and all of a sudden things started to shift, and I tried everything else, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And as I was already doing Reiki, and I was already doing intuitive stuff, and I was already working nutritionally with people from the pharmacy, I was like, this is a no-brainer. This is what I do. Like I always thought that I would go and study naturopathy. That's what I wanted to be when I was in high school. I'm going to be a naturopath. But then when I found kinesiology, it just seemed to fit my circumstances better. It
felt good as well.
So that's why I ended up studying kinesiology.
Yeah. And being a 3-5 in human design, can you tell the listeners, when you look back on that journey for you there, how that perhaps was in relation to your human design?
Still going, like being a manifesting generator and a 3-5 is just that it's just so obvious why my life has played out the way that it is. Manifesting generators, we move so quickly, we're so multifaceted, we need to have lots of different variety, kind of like jump forward, jump back, jump forward, we're all over the place. So having all these different modalities and areas of study was always really important to me. But as a 3-5, the 3 line experiences everything firsthand. Like it puts, sometimes being a 3 line can be a bit tricky. I like to say we bang into the furniture and then realize, oh, there, I'll go around. Like we actually have it before we see it sometimes. And that was definitely the story of my life. Lots of trauma, lots of, ups and downs. But every single time I'd go through those situations, I would learn such a huge amount and then be able to help others through that.
Yeah.
Kind of the epitome of the 3-5. And, I just got over long COVID, which again was another experience where I can help others now because I went through it, figured out what I needed to do to fix it. Now I can help others, fix it as well. So typical 3-5 behavior. And then, the 5th line is, being the heretic, is the person that kind of does things differently, does things outside of the box, is often kind of marching to the beat of their own drum through their experiences. So yeah, 3-5s, it's very typical. It's probably the trickiest, in my opinion, the trickiest profile line to have, a 3-5. But we are the most resilient. So
it's so fun. I'm a 3-5 too. I think that's why we align so well.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I always say that, like, it's the 3-5s. If we were all going for a bushwalk and we got to a fork in the road and one way was safe and the other way was not safe and someone had to go check it out, I'm like, it would be the 3-5s running to the front going, we'll go, and we would inevitably probably choose the wrong way, but we would come back and we'd be laughing about it. We'd have sticks in our hair and cuts and bruises and things like that, and we'd be like, don't go down there, that was terrible, we'll go this way. Whereas other profile lines went and did that, they probably come back really quite heavily traumatized by what they had just experienced, where we were just like, oh, that was a ride.
And some wouldn't even go down there because they would have had to have done all the research about going down there first, which they weren't able to do, so they didn't do it.
Yeah. So we try now, ask later. Like that's definitely the way that we live our lives.
And within human design, what is your authority?
Sacral. So I am extremely spontaneous. There's no waiting around for when it feels right for me emotionally or comfortable or anything. I just go. I'm just like, yep, that feels good, let's do it. And then manifesting generator, I married a Manajan 3-5 as well, but he's I know, crazy. He's emotional though. It drives him crazy how spontaneous I make decisions. He's, I'll be thinking about it for a little bit longer. I'm like, no, it feels good, I'm going.
And so what got you into that part? You've explained like your kinesiology and your divine energetics. When did human design drop in and what made you love it so much?
So again, going back to the family lineage, I suppose, my auntie was an astrologer, like back in the day before she's actually she's much older than my mum. So she was kind of like, before we had the apps, before we had the computer programs, when you had to map it all out with pen and paper, that's the astrologer.
Oh, wow. Fun.
Still do it. Like she's coming over from New Zealand next weekend and she can literally just write everything down and figure out where planets are. And I'm in awe because there's not many astrologers who can do that anymore.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
Yeah. So astrology was always a conversation that was very big in our house. We've always followed the moon cycles. We've always followed, what planets, like doing our natal charts up in astrology for every baby that's born. That's just a given. We always knew what our ascendants were and our risings were and, our moons, like we knew everything. Normal. So given the fact that I'd studied all this stuff around chakras and astrology and this was all normal, when human design kind of made itself aware to me, I just got it. Like I just understood it. It was this combination of the chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, the Chinese I Ching, and astrology was just like right up my alley. There was a no-brainer that I was going to be hooked on it. And I think every now and again you kind of come across things. I have a defined ajna and a defined head as well, so we kind of operate in this space where we can be incredibly photographically intelligent over certain things, and then there's just other things that completely escape us. Like we don't
simple maths that your 11-year-old brings home from school, and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know that.
Smartness. So, growing up, I always felt like I was not very intelligent because the things that I needed to learn about that I wasn't interested in, I just couldn't. And there's just been a select few topics throughout my life that I've fallen into or found out about, and then I've gone, I'm so good at retaining information on this particular thing.
Yeah.
And human design was just one of those things. I just got it. I just sucked it up like a sponge. So and I use it every single day, and I can just see it. I laugh, I giggle all the time because, and I think everyone that does human design does the same thing. When we know someone's profile line or something, and we're like, oh my God, that just makes so much sense. So yeah,
totally agree. And I can resonate completely with that. Feeling particularly not so smart in areas of my life, and then in others I'm like, teach me all the things. And and you can probably associate with this too, as people say to you, how do you know, how do you retain all this information? I'm like, I don't know, I like it. So it just stays there, it just pops out when I need it. I don't even know where it's stored.
Yeah, 100% it. And yeah, it was just one of those things for me, exactly that. There's one more, and I'd hear something about it once and it would just stick. I wouldn't have to go back and relearn it. And
and I absolutely love what you do. I love how you show up on social media. So keep doing that. If the listeners want to find out more about, say, kinesiology, your divine energetics, or even your human design readings, which I can attest to be really good because I've had one, what advice would you have for them?
Look, I mean, in order to come and see me, are you asking? Or
if they're wanting to explore any of those beautiful avenues you've spoken into?
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I am one of those people that just believes that, when you're ready, your teacher appears. So, you're listening and you're like, oh, I really want to learn more about human design. I want to learn human design because I teach that as well. And it's actually a part of divine energetics, is that we teach human design in divine energetics too. So it's kind of like everything. So if you're listening to that, you're like, oh, that sounds amazing. I've been wanting to learn a modality. I haven't been sure what, or you already know a couple and you're wanting to kind of like, combine everything together or whatever, and it feels right to you, then listen to your gut, because that's your teacher appearing to you. And if it doesn't resonate, then don't follow it. I just believe that it's like, I'm like the anti-salesperson kind of. I just think that people will, when they feel it in their body, if they listen, they know that it's right for them, and it will pan out perfectly for them. Otherwise, if you're struggling with any health condition, especially chronic health conditions that you just keep on getting roadblocks around and you just can't shift, definitely give kinesiology a go. It's specialized. I specialize in that. Chronic conditions is like kind of my bag. But yeah, just the modality in general is amazing. So if I'm not in your area, you can't get hold of me, just try it anyway in somewhere near you, because it's such a freeing modality.
Yeah, beautiful. I absolutely love kinesiology. It fascinates me to no end. So thank you so much for that little snippet of all that you do and all that you are. And I think that maybe one day we might have you back on this podcast again. Thank you so much, Emily, for your time today. And thank you, listeners.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.